Are you ready for the quantum age?
Humanity's next step in evolution?
Dream Vision 7 Radio Network invites you to the extraordinary platform of evolutionary voices for the quantum age.
Let's explore. Learn more about this upcoming age where we bridge science with spirituality.
Where potentiality meets reality.
Where we take compassion into action.
Our trailblazers and visionaries will ask the whys, the what-ifs, while igniting continuous possibility.
Come along with us into an age beyond what we know today, where we can grow together in unity consciousness.
Experience evolutionary voices for the quantum age, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern on DreamVision7Radio.com. Welcome to Living the Quantum Dream with your host, Cynthia Sue Larson, inviting you to explore ideas about how you can enjoy a better way of life from one of today's top experts in quantum consciousness. Cynthia Sue Larson is a life coach and the best-selling author of Quantum Jumps, Reality Shifts, High Energy Money, and Aura Healing Meditations, who has been publishing the free monthly Reality Shifters e-zine since 1999 through realityshifters.com. Living the Quantum Dream with Cynthia Sue Larson is part of Evolutionary Voices for the Quantum Age, heard Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern on the Dream Vision 7 Radio Network.
Hello, I'm Cynthia Sue Larson, and our guest today is Lynne McTaggart, an award-winning journalist and international best-selling author who conducts scientific studies of the power of group intention. Lynne is author of The Field, The Bond, The Intention Experiment, and her new book, The Power of Eight, Harnessing the Miraculous Energies of a Small Group to Heal Others, Your Life, and the World. Lynne also serves as editorial director of internationally popular health publication, What Doctors Don't Tell You. Lynne lives and works in London, England, and her website is lynnmctaggart.com. Welcome, Lynne.
Thank you. It's great to be with you, Cynthia.
Oh my gosh, it's great to be with you. I'd like to start by asking about this new book of yours, Power of Eight. What do you most hope people get from reading this book?
I hope that they will realize, first of all, that they can be empowered themselves, that really the key to healing their lives is their own consciousness and also group consciousness. One of the things that really I discovered basically by accident, trying to run big group intention experiments and then small groups of 8 in intentions as a group, is that something about the group seems to amplify and also really aid both senders and receivers. So I think my big message is the whole idea of the fact that we can be really empowered to be much more than we're told, particularly in a small group.
Yes, and I love how the Power of Eight shares a secret that previously wasn't really talked about widely, certainly not in regular groups in society, but it was well known as what's weird is when I started learning about things like Reiki and so forth, I found that this thing you stumbled across is actually well known to the insiders, to the shamans, to the energy healers, but you did stumble across it accidentally. Can you tell us how this came to be?
Sure.
Ran across it?
Sure. So I decided, I have a background as an investigative reporter. That's where I started life. And so I'm naturally quite skeptical. And I wasn't sure. I was listening to a lot of things about the power of manifestation and The Secret, etc. And I wasn't sure I really believed it to that degree. I mean, I had finished a book called The Field where I talked to many cutting-edge scientists who were demonstrating that thoughts are an actual something with the capacity to change physical matter. But I had a lot of big questions about that. You know, are we talking about a very subtle shift, like shifting a quantum particle, or are we talking about curing cancer with your thoughts? And I also wondered, what happens when lots of people are thinking the same thought at the same time? Does it magnify the effect? And so I wanted to test that. And by then I knew a lot of scientists working in consciousness research, and I had a lot of readers because the field was in 30 languages. So I thought, well, maybe I could just put them together and I'll have the biggest global laboratory in the world. And that's what I did with the intention experiment. I started to test, working with scientists who would set up a very well-controlled experiment. And then I'd invite my readers from all over the world to come onto my website, or I'd ask an audience if I were speaking somewhere to send an intention to that well-controlled target. And once we were done, I wouldn't let the scientists know what we'd focused on. There was usually a control or two or three. And they would go ahead and do all of their measurements, and only then would I unblind the study and tell them what we'd sent intention to. And, to my astonishment, it worked. I mean, it really worked. And I wasn't really sure it was going to work. But we've done 33 experiments to date, and of those 33, 29 have shown measurable, positive, mostly significant effects. So that was what I was doing when, in 2008, I decided to scale it down to see what would happen if I ran small groups in my workshops. But I wasn't really sure what to do. I mean, I knew about how to teach them in the power of intention. I'd studied with intention masters, and I'd looked at the science, and I'd distilled that into a simple program that people could follow. But I wasn't really sure what I should tell them to do. Should they hold hands? Should they be in a circle? What's going to work best? So I basically was making it up as I went along, thinking that people were going to experience something akin to a bit of light meditation. It'll be a nice little feel-good effect. But when I asked them to come back and report on what happened, because the groups were all sending intention to one of the people in the group with some sort of health challenge. When I asked the recipients the next day to report on their progress, I got back stories like this. I was due for knee replacement and I'm walking normally today. Or I've had headaches every day of my life for 15 years and my head is clear and I slept like a baby last night. Or, I have terrible insomnia and it was the first good night's sleep I've had in many, many years. I have terrible depression. It feels like it's lifted, and so on and so on. I have cataracts and they're 80% better. So after I picked my jaw up off the floor, I was convinced for a long time it was just a placebo effect until I saw that senders were also getting healed. And that was one of the interesting things about it, because after discovering this, I tried to find, what were the antecedents to this? There must have been other people who thought of this before me, that's for sure. And I talked to many experts who study esoteric religions, and esoteric practices in religions, indigenous cultures, all kinds of things like that. And no one had heard of exactly what we were experiencing, which was these extraordinary rebound effects, that even if the people weren't the subject of it, they were getting healed, the people who were doing the sending, and a lot of other things going on in the groups that were really peculiar. So really, this book is my journey in not only trying to demonstrate exactly what was going on there, with the intention experiments too, but also my own journey really to become, a real believer in this, and seeing the power of these groups that are, we were watching people get healed in an instant, over and over, thousands of them now.
So we're really talking about the participants in the groups themselves. I want to make that clear so people know. Also, of course, you're noticing that the recipients of the intention also get better. So both are happening.
Absolutely. But also people, if they were intending for people outside the group, we've cataloged many, many people who were the subject of an intention of the week. I run intentions of the week on with my community, and we choose 3 people with serious health challenges to get intended for. And we've had not only the people getting sent intention, everything from tiny babies, even fetuses, to people who are, had stage 4 cancer. And we've had a load of stories of complete reversal of, the expected path of the illness, and also people who were the senders being healed. I had one woman with terrible arthritis who was a painter, and she could no longer paint. And she started sending intention week by week by week, and her arthritis disappeared, absolutely disappeared.
I just love the way that you have made this so public and so clear, because, like I said, I had heard about this, but I think I'd only been hearing about it from, like I said, people who are energy healers and practitioners themselves had been, right when they were showing me, like, here's the Reiki symbols, and you used the Choku Rei music in one of your first healing sessions. About something, maybe it was just one of these secrets that people, that they would keep it to themselves. Like, they would be a healer, and their brain tumors would vanish as they're helping others heal. And they just explained, like, well, this is normal. As you're healing, you will get healed. But nobody was writing about it. None of the experts were describing it. Like you said, you did go to lengths to check with other people. And I also haven't seen anyone write about this until your book, The Power of 8.
Well, it was really amazing to me that that what people weren't really focusing on was this extraordinary power of altruism. We've got something, and that's what I really needed to understand. Well, what's going on here? There's a group effect. There is the power of intention and the collective mind, but there's also the power of altruism, of getting off of yourself. And that seems to be a huge, big piece of what goes on in these groups. Yes,
I agree. And it's just so excellent that you're actually describing it and showing it. I think your book is extraordinary because it really does, as usual, as all of your books do, it presents the scientific evidence, which I think you have such a high standard. I love your two-source rule in general, that you do the best you can. I love it. I love the fact that
I think that was blown to smithereens with the first intention experiment, Cynthia. I came out of that, I was kind of shocked just starting with it, because it felt a bit silly starting out, leading a group. We were doing a simple intention to a leaf. And, I felt really stupid. I mean, because, my early background was really hard-boiled investigative reporter trying to bust up baby selling rings. And so it did feel like I was doing something super woo-woo that was not in my usual playbook.
Right. And your focus, when you're reporting the scientific results, it's mostly targeted, of course, toward the recipients of the groups that are doing the praying. And the whole time I'm reading this book, I'm noticing, maybe it's not going to be your next book, but I can certainly see how your work is going to be pivotal in going from anecdotal evidence of this so-called rebound effect, or sometimes you describe other words for it, but taking this idea that the participants in the control group who are doing, as you say, this power of altruism, I think next step will be having a control group who gathers together for any other reason than healing, and just showing, like, okay, this really is an effect. So, I don't know if you thought about that.
Well, I have, and I want to do some more scientific studies. I mean, one of the powerful things, I kind of ran two studies on the groups in a way. One was to follow groups for a whole year. I asked people to be part of a master class, and I got about 250 who were going to be guinea pigs for the first time for a year. So I would teach them the usual stuff I had been teaching for a while on intention, as I teach in my intention master class. But this time I would put them into groups and essentially minutely follow them for a whole year. And it was amazing to me because very quickly there were people who had these completely intractable conditions, like a guy called Mitchell Dean who had lifelong suicidal depression. And it wasn't a very good look for him because he is a clinical psychologist. So he had tried everything as an integrative psychologist too, and nothing had worked. And so he had his group send an intention to find the source of his depression, and he got a hit that he should go see a Chinese herbalist. And he did, and the herbalist did some testing on him and said, you've got a problem with one of your liver filtration systems. And as soon as he got that sorted, Mitchell's depression totally lifted. And that was just one of many, many stories of extraordinary reversals of health conditions, but also what I was also interested in was, well, if I watch them for a whole year, is everything else in their life going to improve or heal?